Time for the hot topic of the hour. The U.S. and China agree to slash tariffs for 90 days in a major trade breakthrough. Both sides have agreed to bring reciprocal tariffs down to 10%. This deal coming after U.S. and China trade representatives held very high-stakes talks in Switzerland over the weekend. Here's Trade Representative Jamieson Greer explaining the deal.
We come to agreement that our reciprocal tariff rate will go down to 10% on the United States side, so it goes down 115%. We enter into a 90-day pause period for negotiations, which both the Chinese and the United States are very committed to. And the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariff rate to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side. I'll just make one point, is that both the Chinese and the United States agreed to work constructively together on fentanyl, and there's a positive path forward there as well.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on what is expected next. Watch this.
Whether it's medicines, whether it's semiconductors, steel, the other, we've identified 5 or 6 strategic industries and supply chain vulnerabilities, and we will continue moving toward U.S. independence or reliable supplies from allies on those. But the consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. We would like to see China open to more U.S. goods. We expect that as the negotiations proceed, that there will also be a possibility of purchase agreements to pull what is our largest bilateral trade deficit into balance that has gotten out of balance.
The White House releasing a joint statement with the CCP that reads in part, the government of the United States of America, the government of the People's Republic of China recognize the importance of a sustainable, long-term, and mutually beneficial economic and trade relationship. After taking the aforementioned actions, the parties will establish a mechanism to continue discussions about economic and trade relations. The tariff revisions will be imposed by May 14th. Michael, markets are taking off. Futures jumped last night just on Bessent saying that it was a positive weekend.
Yeah, look, this is extraordinarily positive. You always knew that something was going to come about and that China had to give in substantially, because every dollar of trade to the United States is 5 times more impactful from China than it is to the U.S. And so we do not sell a tremendous amount of goods over there, but for them to sell into us is extraordinarily significant, because you have finished manufactured high value goods coming from China into this country, which can be, for every job created from that, could be up to 8 jobs over there. So it is substantial how much they came down with these tariffs at this point, and how much they got done this weekend is a massive surprise. And from an equity market investor standpoint, if we get closes above the 200-day moving average of both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, watch out, because the hedge fund community is totally and completely underinvested at the moment.
Yeah. Well, Liz, this was the deal. Yep. I mean, of all of the trade relationships around the world, these are the world's 2 largest economies. And I had said this repeatedly, and has Maria, that it really is, this all comes down to China.
Yeah,
and here we are.
This is what the world was waiting for. Mm-hmm. I would describe this as strategic recoupling. That is to say, yes, we're going to do a lot of business with China, but by the way, there are areas where we need to be self-sufficient. I would say pharmaceuticals is one of those. Many others others. Indeed, I love the fact that they took away the rare earth embargo. That's incredibly important for some industries in the United States. I think altogether, this was a win-win. Obviously, there's going to be backing and forthing over the next 90 days as this is hashed out in detail. By the way, we're not at 10%. We're at 30% tariffs with China because they continued the 20% fentanyl, whatever you want to call it, penalty on Chinese goods. So they didn't give up everything, the United States, but I feel sort of like, honestly, two very sound economic minds on the Chinese side and the American side got in the room and said, okay, how are we going to fix this? And they did.
The 20% on Chinese goods related to the fentanyl issue, again, will remain in place because President Trump has made it very clear that he wants the fentanyl trade and the proliferation of fentanyl that's coming to the United States and killing Americans. He wants that to stop. That also is going to require cooperation from Mexico, another target of the Trump administration. Well, Maria actually spoke with, I wanted to play this for everybody because Maria actually spoke with National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassick on Sunday Morning Futures on the trade deal with the UK and many others. But listen to what he says about what's coming next.
Howard Lutnick has briefed me on about 24 deals that he and Jameson have been working on, and they all look a little bit like the UK deal, but each one is bespoke. Each one's a little bit different because different countries have different things that they've been doing wrong to us, different things they care a lot about. And so, for example, there was the UK auto issue where there ended up being a quota, and that was something they really cared a lot about. And by yielding on that, we got a whole lot for American farmers. We opened up the UK for the first time ever for beef farmers, which they really, really love. And so, yeah, it's going to be a little bit different, but the basic idea is everybody wants to have a deal and everybody wants to make a deal soon. And so you're right, you're going to see a lot more deals in the weeks to come. I mean, there are a whole bunch of things that are very, very close to the finish line. In the end, the president has to decide he likes the deal or not. There was a great story where I thought the deal was fantastic, and then the president's like, I can make the deal better, and he got an extra $1 billion in agreement of the UK buying our stuff on the phone by calling Starmer. So my guess is that the president's going to make the last phone call for each one because he is the best deal maker in the world. And
just picking up the phone, Liz.
I know, it's a good phone call, right? I wish I could do that. Yeah. I was just going to mention earlier, sorry to interrupt you, the de minimis issue, I don't know whether that's been resolved or not. And that, I think, has a lot to do with fentanyl imports. When you're able to bring in small packages worth less than, I think the number is $800. Trump basically said that was the end of that, really killed Temu, Shine, some of these other companies. But also, my guess is it had big impact on fentanyl. Whether that stands or not, we don't really know.
Well, unfortunately, that is a big issue for a lot of small businesses here in the United States and American consumers that have gotten used to buying everything on Shein and Temu and gotten great deals from Alibaba. So, you know.
Yeah, look, I think this is welcome news to just about everybody. I did not see this substantive deal coming with China this quickly, but you knew it was an inevitability. You know it's an inevitability with all these other nations, again, because of the underlying math. All these countries sell so much more into the U.S., and the dollar amounts are so much more significant to our trading partners than they are to us when we sell over there. So we are going to end up in a much better situation. It's unfortunate that we had to live through this market volatility. But look, you can't bake a cake without breaking some eggs.
All right. Well, certainly the markets are celebrating right now what they got last night and this morning. Dow up 898 points in the futures.